That was a prospect for 14 months. And at the end of it, Pat just got some hair up his ass, and he told me, hey, you're just not cutting it, so we're going to send you down the road, sit out a year, come on back and try it again.
To this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got PeeWee. What's up, PeeWee?
What's up, Stacks?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah, things are great over here. I'm excited to have you on. Been anticipating this.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have a really interesting story. I wanted to bring it to the people. I seen you on with Mooch and a couple other people, and I was like, I gotta talk to this guy.
Mooch is a good guy.
Yeah.
You know, and it was funny how I reached out to him because him being in the club he was in and the club I was in, I mean, we hated each other, you know?
Yeah.
Even though I personally didn't know the man at the time. And then I saw him do an interview with that Rick guy. And then he did an interview. And I just wrote on the bottom, I said, hey, Mooch, you're a good speaker. You know what I mean? It was a good podcast, and I enjoyed it. And then he reached out to me, and I reached back to him, and then bam, bam. Now we talk all the time, every day.
Yeah, I've had him on twice. I've had him on. Yeah, great kid. He's been through a lot too.
Yep. Yeah, he has. And it's funny, you know, because he even said, he goes, man, our worlds are like almost the same. How we ended up, like in the clubs we ended up, and then just to hate each other because it was the thing to do for the club, you know.
That's one of the questions I got for you. So when you join this club, do you assume all the beefs that they have?
Yeah.
No matter what, doesn't matter.
Yeah. And yeah, that's exactly the way it works, brother. It's crazy because, you know, I come from the Midwest. I was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So Milwaukee's all outlaws. You know, they're the dominant club there, and they got a bunch of charters all over Wisconsin, but they're the big 1% club. They run Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin, so they're pretty big there. And I've been around them, so you know, I had a couple of them that were really honest to God, good friends of mine. You know, that I'd actually go to their houses and visit them and talk to them, but the majority of them I didn't trust, you know what I mean? And I didn't feel comfortable around them. You know, you always felt like something was going to go down, you know? So I was just looking for something bigger and better, man. And I was in a Sinners motorcycle club when I first got into motorcycles. It was probably the end of my 20s. I got involved with the Sinners Motorcycle Club, and I was there about 10 years. And man, when I first saw my first Hell's Angel standing there, I was like, that's what I want to be, man. I saw that patch, and I was just, I want to be that. But the funny part is, what we're getting back to with the Mooch is, you know, he did the wrestling in school like I did. You know, I was a state champ in wrestling. And so we both did the high school wrestling. He's still in the jiu-jitsu, but he's a lot younger than me, you know?
Yeah.
And the martial arts and all that stuff that I did that. Oh, I only did that, to be honest with you, Billy, because I like to box. You know, I started boxing when I was 11. So I got hands, right? So I could throw real good. with anybody. So the guy goes, "Why don't you let me teach you how to kick?" And come on, bro. I was at the time, 6'8", 450 pounds. I was like, I can't kick. Yeah, you can. Boy, he had me so loosen up and kicking and kicking. I was kicking over my head. I was, giving those wheelhouse kicks to people in the side of their face, and I couldn't believe I was doing it.
It's like an extra weapon you got. You didn't even know, right?
Now I do it. I tear my groin out, be laying on the ground.
Yeah, you think you can do it, but your body tells you no, right?
Right. There's a time where it cuts it off, but your brain keeps telling you, I got it, man. But yeah, so that's what me and Mooch talked about. Pretty much, like we had the same interest in the same shit that we liked, and it's weird how you go different paths. And now we're out of that element, and we're friends. I'm sure that pisses a lot of people off, but I don't care, man. I don't care what anybody thinks, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you dedicated your life to this club, right?
I did.
And
I did. I mean,
what you were the president of the Sinners, weren't you?
Yeah, for 10 years.
So what made you leave there? Because weren't you dedicated to the Sinners? And how come you didn't try to do a patch over? I was just curious because when I watched the documentary on you, they said that you were kind of pushing back when you were doing your prospecting phase because they thought that because you came from being the president to you didn't want to prospect. Is that
right? He was saying that me and him used to bump heads, and I don't know why, because personally, a personable guy he is, and then sometimes he could be a real asshole. You know what I mean? It depends on his mood swings. I know exactly what they were, bro. It's he was heavy into steroids at one time, and he's lifting. So did I do it, where a guy's squeezing a ball in a store, and I scream out, "Do that again, I'll smash him face in," It's just, it's the roids that make, that roid rage. But he would flip out like over the stupidest little shit, but we're beyond that. I mean, I went to his going away party when he was going to prison. The sad thing is, I think he was already working with the police when he had his going away party, because he was facing 20 years. And this is Pat Matter, the president of Minnesota. And he's facing 20 years. And I think he was close. He had to be close. I was getting like in my late 40s, and he was only like a couple years older than me. He might have been in his early 50s. I'm going to guess,
Yeah.
So when he got that 20 years thrown at him, hey, for anybody, Stacks, that's a lot of time, man, so that's all on him why he decided to take a different route and work with the police.
But you were around when that happened, right?
Well, actually, but I was in a different charter, and I'll explain it to you. I had believe it or not, bro, I hung around. I was a hang around, not a prospect. I was a hang around from like 1991 to 1993. And I lived in Milwaukee, and I would have to drive 6 hours up to Minnesota, hang out, clean up, set up for parties, do all that kind of stuff. And then when Sunday came, I had to fly back to Milwaukee. And I remember, I just got to throw this in there because I know you'll laugh. One of the guys, he's dead now. His name was Tank. He was a big boy. He was a good dude. He had the big, massive beard, like the big Grizzly Adam beard. It was huge.
Yeah.
And he was just a big guy. Here, to give you an example, I gave him a belt that I had. It was a 54-inch waist belt, and it wouldn't fit him. So his gut was like, he was out there, man. And I pull up in the car, and I had this big old Lincoln Town car. And I pulled up in it, and I get out of the car. But coming to Wisconsin, bro, up toward northern Wisconsin, because, leaving Milwaukee, I had to head north to Minnesota. So when I was going like through Eau Claire and stuff like that, bro, it was snowing like a son of a bitch. I mean, snowing, coming down. And then when I get to Minneapolis, hey, they're all out there sitting on their bikes. And, to them, it was a chilly day, but it wasn't cold enough to snow or anything. But it would have been a son of a bitch me flying down the road on the bike, in the snow, because it was sticking to the ground and I could feel it in my car.
Yeah.
So when I got there, you would have cracked up. I pulled up and I got out of the car and he looks over at me and he goes, "What the fuck? You come up here, you want to be one of us and you're driving a car?" And he points to his back. "That MC back there doesn't mean more continentals." Bro, I just wanted to start laughing when he said it, but I had to be all serious and go, "Yeah, okay, Tank, I said, "Boy, I came through, it was snowing." He goes, "So what?" Oh, it would have been so what if I would have been like flying on my ass, going down the road. But yeah, that's the only thing. He wasn't a guy of many words, but that's one thing he said. But anyway, I was going up there all the time, and then I'd have to leave Sunday to head back because I had a job,
and they wouldn't let you. They wouldn't let you sit through the meetings or anything yet.
No,
right?
no, you never do that until you're a member.
Yeah.
But they were doing this with me, Stacks, because they didn't really know me, bro. Like when I walked up to one of them at the drag strip in 1991, I says, "Hey man, I'm PeeWee from the Sinners Motorcycle Club, man. How you doing?" He shakes my hand. It was Ralph, and he said, "I'm Ralph, Hell's Angel, Minneapolis." And about 4 seconds passed, maybe 5, and I looked at him and I said, "Hey Ralph, what do I got to do to be you?" And I had my sinner patch on when I said it, because it wasn't that I didn't like the Sinners anymore, bro. It was that I outgrew them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to make it sound like my head's getting too big, but I outgrew them. I was the guy that was like getting all the designer shirts, with the Sinners down the sleeves, all embroidered, and the embroidered shirts with the patch on the back.
Yeah.
When these guys before didn't even have T-shirts. You know what I mean? All they had was their patches. There was only 10 of them. And then when I came around, my personality, all the people that I knew in my big circle of friends I'm talking about, they all wanted to come around. Then they all wanted to be Sinners all of a sudden when they didn't before. Before you know it, bro, we had like 26 members from 10. And I said, "We need to buy a clubhouse." And I was the one that had to put my name up because nobody could get a loan to buy this house. And then we converted it into a clubhouse. It was like 3 stories high. And it's right across the street from a church. Yeah, so, every Sunday we heard the bells ringing. It was like I had a very good time in the Sinners. I love those guys. I still talk to probably about 4 or 5 of them, that, I'm really close to. And they're not Sinners anymore. They're all out of the club. And the Sinners that they have there now, I don't talk to any of them. I don't really have anything to do with them. But I just told them, I said, "Hey, listen, guys, I really in my heart want to be a Hell's Angel, I'm going to I'm going to drop out of the club, So I dropped out about right after we came back in 1991 from Humboldt, Iowa. I dropped out. And I started doing my thing with the club, but I had to let the Angels get to know me.
Yeah.
And that's what took so goddamn long, bro. So after 3 years, I finally sold my house. And you got to understand, Stacks, I had to keep that on the down low because the other guys would have heard I was moving up there. They would have known what it was for. It would have been shoot 'em up cowboy shit,
Yeah.
So I told no one, bro. Nobody knew. And just what I'm telling you, I know personal friends of mine, they got jacked up by those other guys, and they're like, "Where's your buddy? What's he doing? Tell me you know where he is, because they heard I went up there, but they couldn't prove it. Now, at the time, I just won 1993. I just won the super heavyweight kickboxing championship, right? So I got the belt, the whole thing. It was peanuts, bro. $10,000, man. Those guys are making like in the beginning 60,000 now, shit like that.
Yeah.
But this is 1993. I get 10 grand and woohoo! I was
Back
rolling.
then, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. With that being said, I just got done doing that, and they called me up and they said, I already moved to Minnesota. I moved there at the end of April. I started prospecting May 4th of 1994. And then they called me up and they said, hey, we need you for a fight. You're going to fight a guy for a world title shot, a guy from Poland. And I was thinking, Stacks, man, how am I going to get from the car to the arena, without getting shot? I mean, it was that serious, because the first year I prospected in 1994, I went to 3 funerals. Funerals.
Were there things going on in the club while you were prospecting? And did anything happen that made you like, damn, do I really want to do this?
I'll tell you, it's funny that you asked me that. The first thing was like some of the little petty shit. You know what I mean? When I say petty shit, is like, can you possibly imagine me saying this to you? Like calling you in and telling you, hey, Bill, there's no way you're ever going to be a Hell's Angel. You just don't have what it takes. And you're standing thinking, what? What did I do? And then he lays this on me. I come in here with a cold beer and the cooler isn't stacked full of beer, shows me that you don't have what it takes to be in this club. I'm thinking, what the fuck? Hey, ask me to fight, shoot him up with somebody, get down, do whatever I got to do. And you're whining and pissing to me about some beer in a cooler? I guess I ain't cut out for this,
They take the beer serious then, huh?
Right. And it was just like stupid shit like that, bro. But why I was prospecting, there was people, one guy, Roger, he got blown up, put a bomb on his truck. He had a tow truck company and he got in, turned it, boom, blew his legs off, He lived. He's still in the club.
Wow.
And they put his leg back on. The other one was just like half ripped off. They killed Monty. He owned a bike shop in Rockford, Illinois. They shot him up like pretty bad, like 20 times. And then there was another guy named Jack Castle, whose nickname was 4x. He's a little short guy, so 4x4. And he had a really cool chopper with a real long front Springer on it.
The rake.
Yeah, it was old school, bro. Definitely old school. It's on a calendar that Mel Chancey's on. That's 4x's bike. They put it on the calendar. And he got his head shot right off with a M30, like a rifle, and they blew his head off. And those were three funerals that I went to the first year.
Now, what happens when something like that in the club happens and you're a prospect? What happens? Do they tell you like, watch your ass? Do they have a meeting about it? They got meetings, but they don't draw us into them. You gotta like think for yourself, bro. Think outside the box, like, hey, keep your eyes open, look around. And believe me, bro, we were all looking under our cars with mirrors on sticks, for bombs. Yeah. And then Pat's truck, they parked down on the freeway was behind the shop, the bike shop. And next to him was a wood shop where they made cabinets and countertops and shit like that. And if you went to the very back of the yard, then there was a big fence. And if you went over the fence, there was a big green grass hill that you went down. And that was the interstate down there. I think it was like 35, Highway 35. And it was a popular highway. And I think what they did is they pulled up there, they stopped, the guy ran up the hill, jumped over the fence. I couldn't believe it, he had to. And then, unless they handed it to him over the fence, because it was a mercury switch, bomb, when you shake it, as soon as you move the mercury, it sets it off. So I don't think he jumped over the goddamn fence with it. Or maybe they set it once they got over the fence and set it.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. They probably did that. Like I said, I'm no bomb maker. So they put it on his truck. And, thank God it didn't go off. Pat was inside there, and I'm pretty sure he had his son with him, so.
Did he find it? Did he find it on the truck?
Here's what happened. They dropped next door. They dropped a container, a big garbage container, one of those big, the big ones, like when they're remodeling a house or something, you know, big steel one. And they dropped it on the ground, and when it went boom and it hit the ground, it vibrated the ground, blew the truck up. It blew the truck up. The biggest parts on their stack I seen was the taillight. I mean, that truck was demolished. And I guess a guy came out to smoke a cigarette from the cabinet shop, and he saw the guy running. And when the bomb went off, the percussion knocked him down on his ass. And then he got up, jumped over the fence, ran down. That guy ran over, saw the car, took off. I think it had Illinois plates on it. You know, everybody just put two and two together who it was, you know, but Pat was lucky, you know, he was lucky on that one.
Did you ever have any run-ins with any of these people, like the Outlaws or anybody?
Oh yeah,
where you had problems?
I had a run-in. I had a run-in with them. It's in my book too. We had a run-in with them at a Easy Riders show in Chicago. There's about 90 of us there. There was, I don't know, probably 50, 60 of them. And they're walking through there, and they're all like hanging together in a big group, and you could feel the tension. You could cut it in the air with a knife, bro. What they did was, it was like a little bridge. We were on the second floor where the bars were. Yeah. We were standing up there, and you had to go over this little walkway bridge to get to the bar. Well, they wanted to go to it, but they didn't want to walk through us, you know. So they sent this military support club, veteran something. I don't even remember the name of it. It wasn't Vietnam vets or nothing like that. It was some other vet club or whatever. And they come walking. And they were pretty ballsy the way they were walking. You know, they were kind of like, well, we don't give a shit, you know, and they come walking. So they got like right in the middle of us, and then we just started pounding on them, you know, and it was crazy, bro. I mean, I was kneeling as one guy, and I'm boom, boom, giving it to him in the jawbone. And, you know, I can hear this like hideous gurgling sound. And I turn back and I look. There's another guy who was in the club. He's not in the club anymore, but he's in prison for the rest of his life for a different murder. He's down there sticking this guy